Welcome to Unplugged. With me today is Phaedon Stough, who is the founder of MitchelLake Consulting here in Sydney. Well, actually, not just in Sydney, you're expanding overseas.
We are indeed.
Moving to America.
We are. We have a small office in San Francisco at the moment, and we've had an office in Melbourne for about 4 years now.
Right, and your background is, this is a recruitment consultancy of sorts, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. We specialise in working with early stage technology firms, and the way the Americans would say it is high tech technology companies.
Right.
And then we work with niche parts of larger organisations within their technology practices.
Right, so it's very much focused on innovation.
Very much so.
Right.
Much so, yeah.
Okay, and is that really what differentiates you in the marketplace?
I think a couple of things differentiate us. This market segment that we work in, there are not a lot of search and selection firms that specialise in early stage technology, especially online technologies. And then I think also our culture and our depth of knowledge within that vertical, because it's the only sort of market that we focus in.
Right.
So the guys have a strong passion for the vertical they work in, and a knowledge base around that. And a couple of our guys are actually from industry rather than actually from recruitment.
Now, having worked with a lot of innovative companies, you must be well positioned to steal a few good ideas along the way. You've seen a lot of startups. You've got a growing business yourself.
Yeah.
What are the best ideas that you've seen and stolen or borrowed?
Well, we've learned a lot. It's been a great ride. When we started the business, we actually were living with 2 startups. So we decided that not only did we want to understand their businesses, we wanted to sit in their offices and understand the rocky road. So we initially started sharing space with a company called Fifth Finger, who ended up selling their business to MSN, and have now moved over to San Francisco. And we're actually sharing office space with them in San Francisco again. Right. And a company called Facilitate Digital, who again we've placed the executive team for, part of the executive team for, and have a very strong relationship with. And a lot of the things that we took from their experiences was a lot of tenacity. Tenacity is a huge attribute for a business, never to give up, to share that belief that you're doing the right thing, and continually to drive that. Also passion. You notice that these guys love what they do, so we're big believers in that life is short. You should really enjoy what you do every day and get up and be interested and excited about that, rather than turning up to work because you have to earn a living. Yeah. So those are the 2 big things that we seem to.
So in that, what's your next big challenge? The San Francisco office, I guess, is part of that.
Yeah, the San Francisco office is a bit of a different one because we've taken a different model to the US at the moment, which is we are only working with startup technologies. So whilst in Australia we work with people like Microsoft and 9MSN and Census and Big Pond, in the US at this stage we are only working with Series A funded technology companies. And what we do is we don't apply a fee for hire service over there. We actually provide a consultant on a 1 to 2 day a week ratio that puts in process structure and actually acts as an employee of that business to help them recruit. And it's a great model because we have much more control over the process. In essence, the company outsources their whole recruitment process to us. Right. And we've leveraged a fantastic technology platform which allows us to do referral programs, online advertising, create a database that's specific for that organisation, and more effectively recruit.
Right. Yeah. Now, we're going through economic hard times. Is that hurting you? And how does a business which is still relatively small cope with peaks and troughs?
Well, we started in 2001. So we started in a technology recession, as we'd like to say.
Not a good time to start.
Not a good time, but they do say if you start a business in a recession, you're sort of bulletproof in some ways. And we've kept the business very simple. But we also are experiencing huge growth in technology at the moment. So especially in the digital media space, we are seeing the market continue to expand rather than contract, which is driving our growth. And we've just come off one of our most prosperous quarters that we've had in the 7 years we've been operational, which is positive. And looking at the San Francisco market, I've just come back from San Francisco, the level of funding that these companies are receiving and the inclination for investors to continue funding is very, very strong. Right. So we're not seeing a decline there at all at the moment, which is good. And I think that there's a massive disparity if you look at digital media and advertising between the advertising spend from a traditional perspective for a TV campaign or a print advertising campaign to an online campaign. The metrics that you get back from it, the potential audience that you have access to, and generally the spend.
So you're a little bit recession-proof because you're working in an edgy part of the industry where there's a lot of transformation and change, and some of that is recession-proof itself. So I guess you're a little bit protected, but everyone else is going to see that as well, and you're going to have a lot of competitors in your space. How are you going to cope with that?
Well, we've been going for 7 years now, so we've got strong brand identity in the marketplace. Over that period of time, we've retained our client base, so we've grown organically rather than transitioned through clients. We are very selective with who we work with, so it needs to be. I'm a very big believer in a client relationship has to work on both sides. It's not just about us, flogging a dead horse into an organisation. They've got to really want to work with us. We've got to really want to work with them. We've got to see a long-term future in the sort of services and the value that we can add, because we do a lot of value add outside of pure recruitment, of placing someone, market knowledge, market mapping, those sort of things. So
is that the next step to try and get beyond more of that straight recruitment?
Recruitment is becoming a much more sophisticated, broader vertical. So rather than just supply an individual, it is much more about what other values outside of that you can provide, such as salary surveying, market mapping, those sort of things.
And what's the how do you stop the temptation for a business to say, oh look, we don't need you guys, we can do all this in-house?
We're actually very candid with our client base. So for us, it's got to add up financially for the business. Because we work with a lot of SMEs, we have access to how they do from a financial point of view, and we won't be there.
Do you know how much you can charge them?
Basically. There's always a very hard pricing model with startups, but it's got to work for both sides of the fence. Yeah. So we don't want to be there if it's a drain for the business, and we don't want to be there if we're not adding value that the entrepreneur or the company walks away with going, wow, those guys were invaluable. It's not a situation that we want to be part of. So for us, it's not about going in, making a fee, walking away, going, that was great. For us, it's about how long can we work with these guys for, when's the best time for us to work with them. And many times we'll look at a startup and they'll be recruiting a certain amount of roles and we'll say, you actually don't need us. My approach would be, if you think you've got a really good understanding of what you're looking for in the market, you know exactly who you're going to target, stick it up and ad yourself. Go down that path. Only come to us when you need us, because we're not cheap at the end of the day. Yeah. So it's understanding that market, when to engage the startup at the right time, and consequently they'll come to us when they need more of a service around, well, who do we need? Yeah. And a lot of times they don't have a comprehensive understanding of, well, are we looking for a CMO? Are we looking for a VP of business development? What are we looking for to help us gain entry into that sort of market? And that's the sort of area that we really get off on working. Yeah. So you're helping draw the org chart really, rather than just finding someone to fill the holes in the org chart. Very much so. Listen, it's about that time. We're in Italy. It's time for another coffee, I reckon. Fantastic. Thanks for your time today. Not at all. Thanks a lot.